Our last example looks very similar to a problem that we worked earlier where we had to isolate a squared term. And so here we notice that we have a tangent squared of x that we can isolate. And so if we start by moving over the -1, then that would give us 3 tangent squared of x is equal to +1. The next thing we want to do in order to isolate the tangent squared is going to be to divide by 3 so that we get tangent squared of x is equal to 1/3. Then, in order to get tangent x by itself and get rid of the square, we're going to take the square root of both sides of the equation. That will leave us with tangent x on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we will have to have plus and minus the square root of 1 divided by the square root of 3, which is going to be 1 divided by the square root of 3, which you probably recognize better as plus or minus square root of 3 divided by 3. And so notice that this is a value on our unit circle for tangent of x. And so the reference angle is going to be the angle of pi/6. And so that's the reference angle that we're going to use in our particular quadrants. And so notice that because we have the plus or minus here that came from us taking the square root, we will have an answer in all 4 of our quadrants. And so starting with quadrant 1, we've got pi/6, quadrant 2, reference angle pi/6, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So, writing our answers in quadrant 1, that's pretty straightforward because we're just starting from 0 and moving up pi/6, which will give us pi/6 as our answer. In quadrant 2, we're going to be going backwards from pi, and so that's going to give us pi minus pi/6, which will be 5 pi/6. In quadrant 3, we're going forward pi/6, which means we'll be adding 1/6 of a pi to 6/6, and so that would be 7 pi/6. Finally, in quadrant 4, we're going to have to go backwards from 2 pi, which means that we'll be subtracting pi/6. And so we've done this a couple of times already, but just to reiterate, we know that 2 pi is the same thing as 12/6 minus 1/6 is going to give us 11 pi/6.